Hi everyone, my name is Vivian and I'm the moderator of this panel today. It's really nice that we actually have our panel following the introduction by Vitalik talking about public goods funding and open source funding. It has definitely been a topic that we've been contemplating a lot in years, right? For people here, like definitely years. So the panel today, we're gonna dive deeper into different projects that are actually doing public goods or open source, how they get their funding, what are the mechanisms that's created to support them, and what are some dilemmas that we can unpack within this area. We have a very diverse group of people here on our panel. I'm from Taiwan, have been involved in the civic tech or open source community and also Ethereum community within Taiwan and Asia. And then we have Yuki from Japan, we have Kin from Hong Kong, and we have Nidhi from India. So it's gonna be like a Asian-wide open source and public goods discussion, and you'll hear different projects too. Before we start, to dive into the discussion, I would like to invite all of our panelists to talk a little bit about their projects, what they are working on right now, and how is it connected to public goods or open source. Would you like to start, Yuki?
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Yuki from Code for Japan. Code for Japan is a non-profit organization which is doing civic tech and open source software community. So civic tech is a local activity which is we are using technology to improve our daily life with technology, and we also collaborating with local government and national government to adapt new technology to their daily operation. So, and we have 11 or 12 years history for the open source community in Japan, and we are actually as Myanmar's earthquake, we are collaborating with them for the like mapping project. So yeah, we are building a lot of open source in the decades. Thank you.
Yeah, so before we go into Kin, I just want to mention that what Code for Japan, them actually started with earthquake. And then just want to recognize, acknowledge the fact that last week we actually just had a really big earthquake across Asia, mainly in Myanmar and Thailand. And that the earthquake actually happened when the four of us were having a call. And I was in Thailand, so our call got cut off, it was a whole power outage, and we couldn't continue for a little bit, but we resumed the discussion. And after that, Code for Japan, they actually volunteered to support the open source map building for Myanmar earthquake. So these kind of effort in itself, during crisis, during disaster, where human actually need support from other human, is also where open source kind of public goods projects can be of service. Yes, and then we have Kin.
Hi, I'm Kinko, who's mainly involved in two projects. One is Litecoin, which targets to to decentralize publishing, and in particular, decentralized books. And the other is DHK, which is to decentralize or defend Hong Kong. I talked about it a little bit on the ETHTaipei, on the other day. And of course, it's all open source.
All of the things you do with Likerland, Litecoin, or DHK, both very open source.
Yeah, it's open source as far as like coding is concerned, but DHK is not much about, there's not much tech in it. We mainly do civic education. We are trying to bring 7 million people on chain, and we don't do much development. We are more using the open source tools for that purpose. But as far as content is concerned, it's all Creative Commons when its data is open. But then for Litecoin, it's an open source project, 100%.
Yeah, so what Kim mentioned about like having some part of the content being Creative Commons, that's actually also another mechanism to support not fully open source, but some part you need to be credited, some part you want people to refer to. Sometimes you cannot let people use your thing. So Creative Commons itself is also kind of a tool to support people when they want to open up their projects. And Nidhi?
Yeah, I'm just feeling really grateful and proud that to be sharing stage with Kin and Yuki and Vivian, because all of these technologies that we're building is so rooted in real world communities, challenges, and that's what VoiceDeck really stands for, and VoiceDeck was born out of that. My husband and I, we worked as a journalist, and I'm an urban planner. We worked in villages in India, and we found that non-profits in India were having a tough time raising funds because their marketing wasn't as great. English is not our first language. And so because of that, funding to these organizations would happen only if you know someone who knows someone and you know how to speak the language and have a sexy looking report to give. So VoiceTech actually turns that around. We fund organizations solely based on the impact that they have already created. So we retroactively fund that based on the outcomes an organization has created. And we are open source as well. In fact, in some very good news, we have another project called Gain Forest that recently forked our repo, and they are now funding environmental impact, and they're running an entire round in the GG23 community round now. So really standing for all of these open source technologies that are furthering public good or real world, addressing some real world challenges here. So really happy to be here.
Yeah, I think what's really significant is that a lot of the project within public goods or open source space is actually very deeply connected to local and real world issue. While like a lot of people has been looking for solutions for, not solutions, for looking for problems for your solution, for your tech tools, these are people that are actually building specifically for a set of problems that are run into in real life. And can we talk a little bit about the problem that you guys are trying to solve? I think Yuki, you mentioned that Code for Japan has been working on like civic tech specifically, and also working with local government. How did that start? And then what is the problem, the real world problem that you are trying to solve with all these open source projects?
So, fortunately, the Japanese government are more are interested in the civic tech and the open source software, and they are actually supporting us. But the hard part is how to motivate the citizens to continually joining our activities. To continue doing the same thing, we need motivation and the power. But if there is no incentives, the activity will go on, like in 1 year or even in 6 months. So this is one big problem for the local government. If they invest first 6 months, but after that, the activity is not continuing. So we are making project called Toban, which is retrospective rewarding to the community. To continue, if the community continuing the project and make some value in the society, the government can fund retrospectively to the community, and they distribute the rewards to the each members. This is we are right now we are really focusing on.
Okay, so Code for Japan right now building this tool called Toban, trying to see how government funding can be a funnel into these open source builders who has already been contributing to open source project, public goods project on the ground with Code for Japan, solving real world Japanese issue. And government, if they see the effort, they can retroactively fund the effort that these builder has been doing. Amazing. What about Litecoin and ETHTaipei? Like, what is the problem you are trying to solve? And then is there any like similar problems that you run into when running your projects?
Yeah, so for Litecoin, we are trying to decentralize books. So, like, although books has become like from paper to electronic books, but then some people may not realize electronic books are somehow even more closed than paper books, because when you are so-called buying an ebook, you are not really buying, you are just like renting. The platform can go away, or the platform can censor your book, and you don't really get it. And so we are trying to build a so-called book protocol. So, and we are encouraging book publishers to use Creative Commons with relative success, because like everyone is trying to protect their IP, so to speak. And anyway, we're trying to make every book an NFT, so that things go, the metadata stored on chain, and the book itself stored on IPFS and Arweave. So that's Litecoin. And for DHK, let me quote a few examples. So we do what we call a drifting classrooms, which is the like somehow pop-up classrooms in marginalized cafes. So people can come and create their wallet and get a DHK token, so that we are trying to bring people on chain like one by one, hand in hand. And we do what we call Uber, which is Universal Basic Reader, which is to collect the Hong Kong books, which was banned, removed by the Hong Kong public libraries. And we try to do that in a decentralized way. So it's curated by independent, like a set of independent bookstores. So it's not like curated by a particular person, not by me or not by the Hong Kong government. And publicly funded as much as possible, because there's a whole list of books that's worthy to be kept and collected by Hong Kong, which documents the Hong Kong history. So people see the list and they can help to buy the books. And we keep it in a public place so that people can. It's essentially a library, but we cannot call that a library, like for legal concerns.
Got it. Can you actually expand a little bit on the Universal Basic Reader program? What does that mean, and what is that project?
So maybe I have to provide some background. So in 2023, so 2 years ago, the media found that a lot of books are being removed by the Hong Kong library. Said they're being censored, but we don't really have the full list, because it's not like they have a list of banned books. If they do have, it would be easy, but they don't really have. So all we can do is like, I remember I once borrowed this book from the library like a few years ago, but now that it's gone from the record. And so the first thing is to crowdsource what books are being banned, which is already hot. So there are like 500 of them, but I'm pretty sure the actual number is way greater than that. So that's the start. And then we try to find these 500 books and have them scanned it, if the publisher allows us to do that. And afterward, I think it's too passive, too reactive to just react to ban the books, remove the books, because new books are not being removed by the public libraries anymore, because they just don't collect it, so they don't have to remove it. So we just go ahead and try to buy all the Hong Kong books that's newly published. So Hong Kong books is being defined by Hong Kong, for Hong Kong, or of Hong Kong. It doesn't have to be published in Hong Kong, because a lot of Hong Kong books are published in, say, for example, Taiwan these days for obvious reasons. And And it's hard to say all the books because like there are simply too many. So someone has to curate the list. And we have a set of independent bookstores to come up with the books that they choose like month by month and have the public help to buy them. Yeah. And the rest of them, the outstanding books that are not purchased by the public, will be brought by the DHK DAO. So that's the project.
Thank you. So now you can see that with these public goods projects, there's actually kind of a pattern of how decentralized, how by people, it's actually it's basically the way it's formed. And in contrast to the very centralized way, either big government, big tech company, or whatever bigger authority is doing, it's like actually a contrast of people versus the power, and people actually gaining the power again through the process of having open source as their tools, having public goods supported so that they can continue their action. Nidhi, with that, can you also explain, give us an example? How do you support like journalists or any project that through VoiceDeck, like, is there any success story that you can share with us? How do you, or mechanism like VoiceDeck can support the actual real world people doing their project?
Right. So VoiceDeck actually solves for two major challenges. One is like what I call the banker-teacher value problem. That is, in our societies, a corrupt banker is paid much more than a teacher in a village. Why? Why is that? Because the value given by a teacher is, you can't quantify that, you can't have any value to that, but it is very useful. So what VoiceDeck does is solves for that value problem in the sense that public goods are goods that capture a lesser value than they give. And so we're trying to, through VoiceDeck, our funding model is basically bridging that gap between value capture and value given. And secondly, in our work with nonprofits, we also felt like there is a need to create new impact in any society. Whereas the nonprofits we were working with, we were recycling the same impact. Like if we were working with slums 10 years ago, that same project was being sold to like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or another philanthropy. So there is no incentive to produce new impact because you're just churning that the same impact out. And that's why VoiceDeck's model of funding is basically it closes that wheel, like Vitalik just mentioned in his talk now, that self-sustaining flywheel of raising money, creating some impact with it, and that impact generating more revenue to create new impact. So that flywheel of impact is what VoiceDeck is doing. So for example, on our platform now we have listed a story by citizen journalists in central India. For example, women were not allowed to enter a particular temple in central India because women are considered impure because of the menstrual cycle and so on and so forth. And this woman in the village reported this issue, went didn't leave any stone unturned in reporting it. It caught the attention of the local government and police and everything in the area. And now, because of her reporting largely, the women are allowed to enter that temple. So we list that on our platform, and you can buy units of that impact directly. That's a very different experience of donating, because right now if you want to donate and you go to any organization, they'll probably just tell you, okay, whatever you see fit, if it's $10 or $500, you just give us anything. We are having a different model for that. We feel like the impact of a story should be priced at a fixed cost, like a t-shirt. It's like buying a t-shirt. You go pay $500, you get the t-shirt. In the same way, you pay, say we have a fixed cost for each of these impact reports, and once that cost is reached, you can't fund that that particular report anymore, which incentivizes people to just move on to the next, to create creating the next impact. So that flywheel of impact is really important.
Thank you. So, creating sustainable, self-sustaining flywheels for different projects is actually how these like funding mechanism has been trying to achieve. Like, how do we design different mechanisms so that people working in real world on the ground can actually get funded? That's actually how, like for a lot of us, how we got into, say, Ethereum or like blockchain in general. With the design of Ethereum, there's like already incentive design within the mechanism to support people to contribute to the ecosystem. And that itself is a very fascinating model where actually a lot of the project on the ground has been trying to see how they can either duplicate or learn from the Ethereum model to see how that can be duplicated in the real world. I would like to ask all of you, since what you're working on is so impactful and so important for the ecosystem, how do you, your organization, get funded?
So, yeah, I think we have three model. One is this is a main our organization is kind of job. Like we are supporting local government and national government to adopt new technology as a consultation. So we are making money as a business for that part, and we invest all the money to get from the job to the community activities. This is one part. And second is we are getting fund from the foundation in Japan, and we apply. We Code for Japan doing a lot of things like climate change to survive the disaster, and also the disinformation, misinformation, and maybe how to use the technology to local. So we have a lot of projects, and we are submitting the fund with each project. So we don't submit as a Code for Japan. We put every single project. So this is the second thing. And the third one is we are fostering to collaborate with Asian countries. Like we have Facing the Ocean, which is a hackathon event we are hosting with Code for Korea and Gab0 in Taiwan. And each nation have a motivation to engage the international collaboration. So we can, not only the Japanese government, we can collaborate with the other countries to get funds from the other countries. So this is the third one.
So what Covert Japan has been doing very interestingly is been working, even though they are almost sometimes replacing the government, as in doing the job government should be doing, but also they are collaborating very closely with the government, so that government has an alternative way to also support the effort on the ground. Kin, how is your project funded?
Yeah, so we had a round of token sale in 2018. We don't have VC, and the money of the token sale has been of them has been used it for a few years actually. So I'm mainly funding it by myself for now, and a little bit with Geekon grant, not much. So sometimes we jokingly said it's sponsored by Satoshi, because I'm mainly selling the Bitcoin that I have to fund it for now. And for DHK, we have a newsletter, weekly newsletter, which is in Creative Commons, so we don't have a paywall, but we encourage people to subscribe it and become a voluntary pay subscriber and fund the DHK initiative. And also, as well, like Geekon grant as well. So, which is probably around 20% of our income.
Oh. just wonder, I'm not sure if everyone here is like familiar with the Gitcoin mechanism. Kin, would you like to explain a little bit how Gitcoin works?
So Gitcoin grant is like for funding the public goods. They still call it public goods. So I'm not sure if they require the projects to be open source. I think they prefer, but probably not a hard requirement. So they have different tracks. Say the latest track, the latest campaign is Gitcoin Grant 23. So it's the 23rd round, and with a focus on, say, open source project, OSS project, and Litecoin is one of them, so that people can do micro donation and have their donation matched by some matched fund sponsored by sometimes Vitalik or sometimes other bigger projects. Sorry, forgot to mention. So usually calculated by QV. Yeah.
Yes. So we've actually just we hosted around our community, the Asia Community Pagoda. Last year hosted around Asia, it's called Asia Round, basically supporting all of the open source public goods related project within Asia. And the way we do it is that we collected matching fund from GCC, Global Chinese Community. They're a community supporting public goods projects across all Asia, around the world, and focusing on the Chinese speaking community. So we have funding from them, and we have another funding from Gitcoin itself, and formed a pretty great, like 75K matching fund. And people can put their projects on Gitcoin platform, and when people donate to each of the projects, they don't only just get the donation directly from the people, they also get matched with the funding pool that we already prepared, the 75K. So each of the money, like all of, like say donor donated to, the value is actually extended because it's on the Gitcoin platform, because it's using the quadratic funding mechanism so that it can be amplified. And this is like one of a very classic funding mechanism that's being used within the space. Nidhi, what about VoiceDeck?
Yeah, I mean, Gitcoin for us was the introduction into like blockchain in one way. I mean, we also use hypercerts to create those impact certificates and generate that flywheel. So that use of blockchain was there. But really like Gitcoin grants and even the GCC, I mean, rounds, I'm very grateful we were recipients of a grant from them. And we really appreciated that because quadratic funding gives you some non-zero amount of money, like it's okay, even if it's like $100 or $200, it's like worth it. But right now, we get like 70% of our funding from Gitcoin rounds. And we have recently also started expanding this funding mechanism of ours to other ecosystems like of funding open source software, like deep funding. There's going to be a talk on that right now. Basically, anything which requires you to fund any organization, any project based on the value they give, that's what VoiceTech stands for, and we're doing that with deep funding as well. And now with the new community round in GG23, there's a Gainforest round. It's hosting a round especially based on this funding mechanism. So those sort of contracts give us some funding as well.
Yeah, so funding mechanism, there's like, it's like a complex system, right? So VoiceDeck, Toban, or Litecoin, they fund like the projects that are related to their sphere, but also themselves they need to be funded. So like in a bigger like ecosystem, who support them so that they can support like the on the ground people? And if they support organization, they also need to support like downstream, like actual people working on the thing. So it's like the free will actually need to consider all these different cycle, all these different level of people, organizations involved in the mechanism. When we were having our call, actually, Kin put up a pretty valid point, I think, within this within our prep call. A part of it is definitely about creating this self-sustaining flywheel. It has been very challenging for many of us because you can see, like, Kim basically used his pocket money to support the continuation of his project, and we rely so much on grants or government funding or different things. And that makes people feel like we are nonprofit. But the framing of being nonprofit associated with open source or public goods is actually not that healthy, right? Kim, do you want to explain a little bit on your concern with?
May I mention one thing?
Yes.
Right now, actually, the Gitcoin Grants 23 is happening right now. I think tonight we'll start the new round. So if you are interested in, please go explorer.gitcoin.co. Then maybe you can find us. You can put the $1 or $2.
Oh, I guess all of our projects are, are on Gitcoin. Yes, so go to Gitcoin, support them. Yes, coming back to our question. Kim, do you want to explain, like, what is the dilemma you are facing between the self-sustaining flywheel and nonprofit?
Yeah, I had an issue. Like people tend to have a binary will between profit-making projects and like public goods. So they expect public goods to be non-profitable and not self-sustaining, which makes sense. But which also means if you are trying to create a business model for public goods, or you are trying to create a so-called flywheel, sustaining flywheel for your public good, people would like kind of don't know what you are. Or they would see it, so you are a profit-making entity, so I'm not going to donate to you, which makes it very embarrassing. So and you don't know who you are. I mean, you know who you are, but people don't know who you are. People don't know. It's actually a good thing. I mean, if public good projects, open source project can find a business model, but on the way of doing it, you would kind of lose your identity. You would kind of lose your attraction for people to support you because you are a public good. Because people would see it as a commercial project, and they don't see why they have to donate to you. But at the same time, you are not as competitive as 100% commercial project because you have double bottom line. You have to take care of other values other than just making money.
Do you have similar problems when you're running your project?
I mean, that's the challenge we began solving for with VoiceJack, because most of the non-profit media outlets we worked with had to raise grants through the normal process, had to apply for it and had to know English and do all of those things. But VoiceJack really is trying to bridge that dilemma in some way. Because all you have to do is basically just focus on your work and create impact and do impactful work, and just rest assured that the funding will be taken care of and you can move on to the next impact. So in fact, deep funding is also another offshoot of this, and because it takes into account the dependency graph as well. So like what you were mentioning about us depending on other forces to fund us and we funding these other organizations. If basically deep funding will just map all of that on a graph, all the dependencies, and then you algorithmically just distribute funds according to what value each project has given. And so I feel like VoiceJack is basically an attempt to bridge that dilemma by just funding the value, by just funding the impact.
From the Toban or Code for Japan perspective, anything you want to add to this specific dilemma?
Oh yeah, for quickly, so for the large number of people, I think in Japan it's enough to do for the open source software, but for the local government, like small number of people, they not enough. So how we can care about the small communities. We all are in the decreasing of population, and we are seriously taking care of the problem. So in that case, how we can support small group. For the large number of people, we can support as a business, but how about small? Maybe it's like a same like saturation of the entire ecosystem in the nation for someone.
I think before we close this this panel, this whole discussion here is actually a reflection. I would like to encourage everyone to reflect with us, like, why is it so difficult to support projects that are actually beneficial for the public? Why do commercial, like quote unquote, commercial projects get so much funding while like people on the ground are actually facing problem being self-sustained when they are doing the work that are actually open source? They can have legacy, they can have like really good impact on people, but they are struggling. This has been kind of a dilemma that we've been talking about. Maybe that's a problem with what the framing of business. Maybe it's the over-commercialization of our social structure. But with Ethereum, coming back to like our topic and basically our whole day, is that Ethereum itself, it creates possibilities, or these mechanisms create possibilities for people on the ground, people like actual contributor, not just coder, but also the mechanism can be duplicated to real world system. It's a possibility for on the ground people to get funded, to get supported through like very direct value distribution. And that's what many, like all of our panelists basically are doing right here. So we have like 2 minutes left. Any last word you wanna, like last piece of message you wanna send to the audience regarding this funding mechanism, open source, and the dilemma and everything?
I think the flywheel is not only for the sustainable funding, it's also the population of the people of the project. So if you are interested in, let's join the open source software and join on the public good stuff. Yeah.
Flywheel, not only for financial resource, but also human resource.
Yes.
Different kind of
Exactly.
resource, all need its value, its flywheel to actually have people have resource to continuously contribute. Kin, any last message?
Well, like you kind of conclude too well. So I can only like encourage everyone to pay more attention to all the open source and public goods projects and involve them as much as possible.
Thank you.
I'll borrow this from my husband, who's also the co-founder of VoiceJack. Jesus said that, punish the sin and not the sinner, and we should fund the impact giver, the impact and not the impact giver. So, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. And before we go, last thing, since like our call happened when the earthquake between like Myanmar and Thailand happened, that's also like a funding mechanism issue. Like a lot of the funding people are donating to through government or through larger nonprofit, they don't really go to people on the ground doing the actual rescue work or really providing supplies. So if you're donating for the Myanmar or Thailand earthquake, any relief activities or effort, please support on the ground nonprofit. Verify when you donate so that you can make sure that money actually go to the people that that really needs it. I think that kind of concludes our, sorry, using this for little promotion on the right thing to do. Thank you. And then thank you all of our panelists, Yuki, Kin, and Nidhi, amazing projects. Continue the good work you're doing. This is our panel. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you. And please drop in a penny or two for all our projects in the Gitcoin run.
Yes, go to Gitcoin.
Thank you, Vivian, King, Nihai, and Yuki.